Welcome back to another, installment of Talking Canes. My name's Cam Underwood, managing editor of State of the U. Please come on over and fan with us. We have all kinds of great Miami Hurricanes commentary and analysis, and as I'm doing more video content for you guys here, decided that I was going to bring up something that was a debate, or not a debate, but yeah, a conversation from social media, basically. So after spring practice number 1, somebody posted a picture of a couple of defensive players, Armando Blunt, I believe, and Justin Scott wearing his new number 5. There's been a bunch of number changes, by the way. We're going to run those down later. And basically like, people wanted a new strength and conditioning staff. And I responded to that. I quoted it, and I'm going to show it to you now so we can have the conversation. So the initial tweet from Florida boy Corey, some people said, get rid of that strength and conditioning coach. This is Armando Blunt. You can see how he has developed his body as a newly 18-year-old defensive lineman. Like, hello. This right here, 5-star Justin Scott, who also has developed his body going into, and you can see Scott on the shorts there in case you were wondering, going into their sophomore seasons. And as you see the tweet, but some people say get rid of the strength and conditioning coach. Yeah, but not because of this, which is where my quote tweet comes in, where I said this is misleading. My concern, which I've said and written on stateoftheu.com, as has Justin DeTavio, as have many other people, is that the fast guys that we bring in get big and slow once they get on campus. That's the issue. I've not complained about having size. It was supposed to be having, not leaving. Typo, my bad. At size positions, with the singular exception of Cyrus Moss, who has the world's greatest metabolism ever, where he just couldn't gain weight, right? But this is the thing for me that's the issue with the strength and conditioning staff. It's not necessarily the strength component, it's the variability and variety of the conditioning portion of the program, and allowing players to develop their skill set to the greatest positive impact, right? So big guys need to be big, but fast guys need to stay fast. And in most instances with the Miami Hurricanes recently, that has not been the case. If you want to point out Chris Johnson Jr. as a fast guy being fast, yes. If you want to point out Brashard Smith as a fast guy being fast, remember the kickoff return for touchdown against Louisville, remember the long run against Texas A&M a couple years ago? Yes, absolutely. Those are fast guys who stayed fast and in their time on the field use their speed to great advantage, right? You can talk amongst yourselves on if those guys should have gotten more reps on the field or at the position of their choice. But again, knowing who our coach is and knowing what the room looked like, where were those snaps going to come from? I say it again with Chris Johnson. We had 5 starting caliber running backs on the roster at one time last year. Damien Martinez, the actual starter. Mark Fletcher, who should have started for the first half of the year while Damien Martinez was getting his sea legs about him. Jordan Lyle, true freshman who skipped over a couple of dudes. A.J. Allen, and Chris Johnson Jr. And we had the number 1 offense in America. It's tough to pull guys off of whichever position to put this guy on, even though he's fast, because the performance was elite. But I digress. Those are probably 2 of the biggest wins in terms of fast guys being fast, getting here, staying fast, and having their speed be a positive addition on their side of the ball. We've seen guys come in and just not have any kind of an impact. Robert Stafford was brought in mainly because he was fast and you could eventually teach him skill. So, speed is a talent, and then, coverage is a skill. He had the God-given talent. He didn't have the developed skill. But you brought him in here mainly because he was fast. Who was the last safety on both kickoff return touchdowns who got ran by? Robert Stafford. So against Louisville and against Wake Forest, and I'm sorry, you call me old school, call me old head, call me whatever you want to call me. There's no reason on God's green earth we're getting run by dudes from Wake Forest. I don't want to hear it. But we had a guy whose main talent was supposed to be speed, and that happened, right? Because you get a couple guys blocked up, you make a guy miss, and then you crease it. But you figure, oh, we got 16 back there. He's going to go hawk him down. We brought him in here because he's fast. Swoop, touchdown. What? Right? Where's all that we've heard of? And I know Chris Johnson Jr. didn't have a lot of wiggle, but let's go to somebody else. Ray Joseph, where that? You know, he's supposed to be this wiggly, fast, dynamic dude on punt return. We'll see. You know, he's going to be battling Malachi Toney this year for the slot position on starting, you know, on offense and everything. But he was a guy who was committed to Clemson for months. He flips to come to Miami. He stays home. He went to Miami Edison right downtown. You know what I mean? He stays here. He's supposed to be that fast guy adding to the roster and everything who stays fast, and their speed is the positive impact. Where is it? Where is it? I just want to know. And you can go on and on and on. There were so many times of guys who were just slow on defense. And I'm not even going to ascribe the issue of being too slow to guys who were not necessarily brought here because of their speed. But there was times, especially on defense last year, where, oh my goodness Jesus, it was an issue. So now if I go back into this tweet, you know, Brian saying and basically saying exactly what I said, speed guys don't necessarily need weight. They need to be leaned out. That's what I'm saying. But that's not happening with the strength and conditioning program to my eye. Again, they are doing a lot of good things in the strength and conditioning program. But mitigating the speed on the roster, I believe, is a negative. My boy Spade asked, "Oh, well, what about other teams?" And da 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 da. I don't know. Do your own research, bro. I didn't. My boy Paco, 100%. Hey, you see the reaction because I'm pretty right. Who got slow? I didn't say anybody got slow. I just said that they're not as fast, which are different things, especially when you're put in a position to be fast. I thought I had, well, maybe because I'm doing this on here. Timothy Johnson, interesting individual, saying Ruben Bain. And then everybody, what fast guys have gotten big and slow? This Valardo Hiders, hey, shout out to Game of Thrones. I didn't say any of these things. I didn't say that the guys in there were the fast guys. I didn't say anything about Blunt. I didn't say you're arguing things I didn't say, brother. And again, what I said, or my intent from the tweet was put up as, oh, making big guys bigger, and I'll show you again, of Armando Blunt on the left and Justin Scott on the right, is being propped up as the only reason why there have been complaints about the strength and conditioning department. I disagree. Curious who's gotten slow. Dog, just look at you know what? We're going to go down the list in just a second. And then the last one, last year, Miami was slow AF on defense. I hope the new DC will teach what he claims, fast and physical. Need to see huge improvements. I agree. But since there's so many people in the replies to that tweet and just probably watching, thinking, who's gotten slow? Who hasn't been fast? Who was brought here to be fast? I've already given you Robert Stafford. Malik Curtis from Fort Myers Bishop Verot High School. This is a kid whose number one thing was speed. Go and look up the highlights. And in high school, this kid was on fast forward with everybody else in slow motion. He was, I This is really bad content creation. I should have had this ready already. Sorry. Malik Curtis in high school. I mean, he was at a time 22 flat in the 200. He's sub 10.8 in the 100. Like, this is a guy who can fly. But when he came to and I thought he should have played on offense. We put him on defense. He never did anything. Robbie Washington, not Bobby the linebacker, Robbie the wide receiver twin, right? He was brought in here to be fast. He never cracked the 2 deep. He switched to defense. Cristobal came out and said, oh, yeah, hey, this is great. I think he has a really high ceiling on defense, but he couldn't even make specials because he had no speed. Or his play, he didn't play to the level of speed that he had previously showcased. And again, that's another iteration of the issue. I'm going to go back through the commitments in a couple of previous classes. I'm not going to go 25 because obviously they've not hit the field yet. They're just starting their first spring practice. Zaquan Patterson, he was kind of all around. We'll see about Nikar and Josiah Trader. Those were guys. Jordan Lyle. Okay, Jordan Lyle was brought in to be fast, and he had that 91-yard, 92-yard touchdown against USF. He's fast, but will he maintain that level of speed as he continues through the strength and conditioning program? I'm not sure. But early on in his career, he had speed, showed speed. Cam Pruitt had speed, showed speed. Dylan Day had speed, showed speed. So those are guys from this most recent freshman class. If we go back to 2023, bear with me. Who was brought in to be fast? Robbie Washington, I already said. Ray Joseph, I already said. Robert Stafford, I already said. Damari Brown is more of an all-around. He's not a super-duper speed merchant, but that's okay. Chris Johnson Jr., he's one who I don't think you can make him slow, even if he was wearing a 90-pound vest. There's been a couple, but even at the embedded positions like linebacker, we've seen guys getting slower. Even at like outside receiver, we've seen guys not pop on speed in the same way as when they were in high school, which, when you're building the roster, you need both size and speed. StateOfTheU.com, please go check it out. Wrote a feature 7 years ago called The Recruiting Rules, where I went down the foundations of building a championship caliber roster. One of the rules is size matters, and a different, separate, individual, exclusive rule is speed kills. You cannot, you cannot combine the two. If you combine the two, then you get Calvin Johnson, and great. But you cannot overwrite the speed rule by putting size on it. Like, you have to have the requisite amount of speed. Jaleel Skinner, whatever. Chris Graves, he was a high school teammate of the previously mentioned Malik Curtis. He was brought in because he was big and fast as a cornerback. He never played. Kamari Rogers had a knee injury. He left. Trevante Citizen had a catastrophic knee injury. He's pretty much never played again. Jaden Harris got on the field last year. He was super athletic and actually even kind of fast. He was just out of position and on the wrong foot every single time, where it didn't even matter if he had that kind of speed. But my point here is, I believe that Miami has over many a year, and I could keep going back on further back recruiting classes and point out issues where we have fast players who are brought here with their main positive attribute being speed, and that attribute being trained out of them. I believe it to be an issue. I don't think that I'm the only person who has seen this. I see that there are a lot of people who are probably going to hop. I hope you hop in the comments, because I'd love to keep this conversation going. And already on the tweet that I made have been in the comments and replies, talking about they had an issue or they took umbrage to what I said. Guys, what team have you been watching? Like, I'm sure, and I'll go look it up and I'll plug it into the description of this video. I know Justin Tatavio at State of the U, one of our lead guys, who's a high school football coach, by the way, currently, has written about the issue of getting, fast guys slower over the course of time. So I am very firmly on that point. I see what you guys are saying. I firmly disagree with you guys. There is size. There has been strength. There are developments, even in terms of technique, where you aren't going to be, as fast as you once were. But there are far too many guys whose main positive attribute is speed being trained out of them at the, the behest of size and strength and bulk that I find to be problematic, because other teams, you watch them on a week-to-week basis, and they have guys who pop on speed more than the University of Miami, which I find to be very, very problematic. That's my take on things. What's yours? Hop in the comments and replies. Let me know. We'll be back talking more Canes soon. Thanks so much.